years before, we met in Philadelphia. I had the pictures and all that stuff. We signed a contract also, an allegiance type of thing. And so we were formally now As-Sabiqun. Okay, since then to now, we have exhibited As-Sabiqun. We did before that too. But since then to now, we've exhibited all that stuff. Like the analysis that we make, the way with our limited resources. And it is time for Islamic revival, because a lot of our progress, what they call progress, was during that era. And I would say in the last 15 years, if you look around here, you could see whether it's our property, whatever it is, it's not falling apart, but it needs upgrading. It needs, upkeep. Everything is like that. Everything we got here, it needs that. So that's where the concept of revival comes from. You see what I mean? That we got to rejuvenate and revive and get this boy up and down. But we still have to process here every now and then. If there's movement, right, you have to, there's a possibility of going off course. The winds of change, the waves, the environmental circumstances blow most people off course just naturally. You got to have a powerful drive. You got to keep studying your charts and everything to make sure you're still on course. Right? You got to make sure. Okay, so we've always been headed in the right direction, but you have to come together every now and then to stop and take a look around, do your measurements. Are we on the correct course? And right here it says, where have we been? How have we adjusted? Have we handled ourselves in accord with our own expectations? This on page number 2 at the top left there. How have we dealt with our own expectations? And finally, are we still on the correct course in relation to our original intentions and calculations? Right? So you can tell that we didn't research where we are, where we're trying to go, and we put out our goals and all those things at that time. Well, we have to have new upgraded goals to deal with our revival. We'll just breeze over some of those tonight, but I hope that we come back together again Thursday to be just a little bit more detailed, if it's possible. And if it's not, we can, whenever we come together, we'll go over this. We have learned over time that not all Muslims share the same hopeful and optimistic picture of Islam in America and worldwide. We have also learned that standing for justice may mean standing alone. Does that fit what we're talking about here? That if you stand for the correct truth, you're not trying to be a paragon of virtue. I want to sacrifice nothing but perfection. No, not that, not perfection. But the general, basic, correct analysis and follow-up, carrying it through, right? So we've already had we had 20 years of experience by the time we wrote this. So we know the same thing we know now. It's just that we're moving to a higher level. This is a repeat. What we're doing now is a repeat of that period, except we have the chance to reflect on that time, that period, the expectations of that period, who's who, what's what, and we've had a lot of time. And a lot of this stuff is self-imposed. A lot of this is self-imposed. That means we might have imposed a slowdown on ourselves. Yeah, Why? Because you need to reflect. You're gonna just stroll around and everything's fine. No. So you impose. We did it in Jahiliyyah. At first it was accidental. You just look at things and say, it wasn't accidental. It was fitra. That's what it technically was. Hey man, I'm gonna pull back and take a look at this because this stuff is happening. It's pretty, you know what I mean? It's coming quickly. All of a sudden, heavy arrest at certain times. So let's pull back and look at this stuff, And that became a part of our behavior pattern. So we have also learned that standing for justice may mean standing alone. That's why things that happened to other people, they didn't go through the proper process of expectation, of trying to look ahead. We've had a few programs, I think, on expectations. Well, As-Sabiqun is expecting, looking ahead and trying to analyze. I believe that on human terms, one of our basic good characteristics is this taking it easy every now and then and taking a look around and self-imposed reflection. So, this standing alone, a lot of people, they get shocked. Oh, if you notice they open a new masjid at different times around, they stay a while, do a certain job, and then they close up. A lot of people don't know, when we first came in, we opened up on 8th Street, the place was full. Why isn't it not full here? Because at that period, they're in charge of the process here. So they'll fool you. They'll run people through there. I would say DC has either hundreds or thousands of functionaries, right? When I say that they can open up a masjid down the street, right down the street, and fill it up, and they come in organized and ready to go. They could even have a school or anything else, just like that. Why? Because they got all the people, they put it together. It's like a task force. Called it a task force masjid. Their task is to divert all the people with their coordinated effort. Everybody in their thing is coordinated. They're paid, they're hired, they've been doing this a long time, and they're skilled at it. So when we was over on 8th Street, the people was rolling in, from everywhere. Sudanese, this, that, and the other, everybody. It was just unbelievable. But then, when we got to dealing with a lot of other things began to look a little funny. Then they'd already opened a masjid down on the corner down there. And it was open, I remember one time, the little weasel man that was the Imam over there, I think his name, but he looks like a weasel. He technically, so he came over here once and he was telling that this is what we gonna do, trying to do that. And he invited me to come and speak on a Sunday night or a Saturday night. So I got the days mixed up, and I went over there the night before. They were having a program there. And when I walked in the door, there's Muhafiz sitting there. And the Negroes used to come to our show. And these are knowledgeable. They know what they're doing, Negroes. They all there. So I think when I walked in the door, Muhafiz might have urinated on the masjid floor or something. That's the way he looked, you catch a deer in the headlights and the eyes is just, And then so I walked in, and the little weasel man run up. He said, "No, I wanted you to be here tomorrow night." I said, "Oh, it's okay." So I just got the idea that I wasn't welcome that night, that it was a 2-night program. So I stayed around, made everybody uncomfortable. You know, I mean, you wouldn't believe it. All the old timers from out, they were here in D.C., then out in Gaithersburg, following the Rangers, and all over. I mean, all the old timers, they were there. And they knew what that was, because they know that was a kickoff of kind of Masjid Muhammad type attitude to people, and that they hated that, and there it was. So they have, when they open up something, they can fill it up, or they can keep people away. It's what they want to do, okay. And they have the people, and they have the wherewithal to do that. Okay, so we'll move on. We have learned over time, we must bear in mind that the long years of struggle will produce many peaks and valleys. How to navigate through challenges and manage stress, followed by exhilaration, followed by frustration, followed by a renewal of energy and spirit, takes a special process accompanied by a high level of adaptation and adjustment in the personal management and community development. The lifelong journey of Islamic movement requires much mental, moral, physical, and spiritual preparation and progress. We must not lose sight of this. So we're talking about things that we studied. I might have mentioned stress the other week. So when we got to kicking in Oakland real good in 1980, I realized right away that, they tried to, now I was different. See, I was the Imam that lived in a room in the Masjid. So people got access to me 24 hours a day. That's different than other Imams or so-called leaders. They live in a house, you know what I mean? And you don't have that much access to them. But if I'm living in the Masjid, that means they got 24-hour-a-day access, or from Fajr to Isha time. And sometime they'll try to interrupt that. That's after Isha is a phone call time, when they call in, they got women calling, So they have 24-hour access, and they use that access. So now, I studied what I was doing. So I studied, why would they be doing that? What would be their purpose? I said, that's to cause stress, frustration. You have mice in the cage running around. If they can't get what they're trying to do, they get frustrated. So does a human being, right? If you don't achieve your goal or the thing that you want in a certain amount of time, you get stress, it produces stress and frustration. So I studied that, and I already adopted a counter-stressful program and a counter-frustration program. That means that's what that heavy attitude, optimism in those days, attitude, optimism, and all that was right at the forefront. Because you had to have that attitude or you was a goner, All right, so. Go ahead.
It reminds me of the conversation we had this weekend when we talked about your generation from a particular community, and the older brother said they just got frustrated. Well, this is what he was saying, that
Right.
the older imams or the older leadership got frustrated with the Negro.
Yeah.
They just got to a point where they just stopped.
That's what we was telling them 20 years ago. You got to get used to, you're exhilarated. That means the government do something to help y'all just, the Imam is happy, he's rolling along, he's accepted, then ain't nobody talking to him. Or they got the same people doing little stuff at the masjid all the time. Every time he have a meeting, they bring somebody extra that's got a counter to whatever he's for. And pretty soon, this poor guy, I think you said that they didn't know what they were up against. Yeah, that's exactly, that they didn't know what they was up against. Nobody, that's what As-Sabiqun do. They go out and research and get in all the tussles. In fact, As-Sabiqun go out and make trouble. They're troublemakers. Why? Because you make trouble, they come and get you. You're going to be the target, right? But so when you target, you got to be standing there and you got to say, now I got to calculate when boss man going to shoot so I can dump this way, jump that way, right? You got to. See, people don't think we know what we're doing. We're doing and saying, if I sit here and talk against the Zionists, shoot, when Abe Foxman come out, I expect them to be coming out. I expect Daniel Pipes and them to be talking. And especially when you're telling the truth, Steve Emerson, all them guys are afraid of these guys. So we say, we're going to show them guys as sisters. They sweet as candy. So we challenge. Hey, come out here. You talking all that old bad talk. I'll meet you in Philadelphia. Where you, Philadelphia? I'll meet you down at the university, and we'll have a program, me and you. I'm not going to respond to Imam Musa because he's some kind of, I don't know, you probably saw it. Oh, some old guy. So I said, man, this guy he's a girl. Well, not a physical girl, but, well, in the old days, that's what gangsters would call people. A girl is wonderful, but a boy that's got anyway, it's long. You can kind of get the idea. So we know what we're doing, and we've been doing it that's why we want to. We telling these people then, all your parents and all them people down in Richmond and everywhere, or over at Masjid Muhammad in those days. It was clear then that the chief was totally surrounded. And there was one, in each town they had three, just like here, they had 3 masajid all following the chief, right? They had Masjid Ashura following the chief. They had Masjid Muhammad following the chief. They had Suleiman and Sultan, them, right? They was right down at what's now